Do you have a vice or a craving that just seems to take control over you and you've tried to control it and stop doing it or reduce how much you do it or give yourself breaks from it, whatever that craving or that vice is, but you seem to go back to it over and over again? Guess what? You're not alone. The big problem is with vices is, first of all, we all have them. And the next thing is the wrong approach, which most of us take, is a power struggle with our own vices. And what I mean by that is either we allow the vice to take control over us, and then in turn, we try to take control over it. And it just simply doesn't work. Today, I'm gonna show you what actually does work, the mindfulness approach. I'm gonna give you 3 experiences with vices that were really, really well managed through the mindfulness approach. One is going to be my own personal story with quitting smoking. The other one is going to be a client's story with overcoming his addiction to masturbation. And another one is going to be one of my clients that overcame her addiction to food. So I'll get started with my addiction. I used to be a heavy smoker. I come from a smoker family. It definitely had a grip on me. Every time I thought I was trying to take control over my cigarette habits, I was able to restrict myself maybe for a few days or a few hours, but like a true fiend, I would look around anytime someone was smoking and just looking if I can buy a cigarette off of someone or bum off of someone. Like I really didn't have control over it. It had control over me, and it was very defeating. And then I tried the mindfulness approach. And the mindfulness approach is basically learning to be very, very present with whatever your vice is. So in this case, mine being a cigarette, what I did was to isolate my experience with it. And that's how I was being present. Let me walk you through those steps. So anytime we have any kind of vice, we tend to do it unconsciously, habitually, as a pattern. And it tends to be part of a mix of other things that we do. In my case, when I would smoke, it would be after a meal, when I'm talking to friends, when I'm in a social gathering, with a drink, with a coffee, while I'm driving, all the time. I told you, I was a heavy smoker, okay? And so the first step that I took was to isolate the experience. So I no longer was talking on the phone, driving, eating, or drinking, or talking to anybody when I smoked. It was just me and the cigarette. And I slowed down my process. And I never restricted myself, okay? So that's another point. Don't restrict yourself. Be one-on-one with your vice and don't restrict yourself. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. Don't be afraid. Trust the process. Going back to my story, being one-on-one with the cigarette, I always had a pack on me. Anytime I would smoke, I would isolate so I wouldn't do anything else. And then every puff I would take, I would feel it in my mouth, down my throat, in my lungs, how it made me cough, how it smelled, how it thrashed my throat. And I built a natural, aware, conscious, awake aversion to it because I started realizing how it was impacting my body. I was no longer unconscious to that process. And the more I started to realize on a conscious level, on an awareness level, on a mindfulness level, how it was impacting my body, I did not want to smoke as much. I went from a pack a day smoker to maybe 3 to 4 max a day. And I couldn't ever finish a full cigarette. Maybe I was only able to smoke all the way to half a cigarette. So really, if we want to do the net, it was maybe 1 or 2 a day. I was no longer in a power struggle with it. I wasn't trying to control myself. I wasn't trying to restrict myself. And I no longer was a victim or a prisoner to my own cravings because that awareness approach completely eliminated that strong craving. And I wasn't associating it with anything else. That's another point. That's why you isolate the experience. No longer associating it with coffee, with alcohol, with talking to my friends, with being in a social gathering, with talking on the phone, with driving. It was its own isolated experience. So it no longer had this association with other things that I liked to do or I had to do. That's the whole mindfulness approach in a nutshell. The same approach my client used with his excessive masturbation. And when he isolated the experience, he no longer watched porn. When he was masturbating, he no longer did it mindlessly as just a habit or out of boredom or just because. He started becoming very connected with the experience, with how his body felt with actual masturbation. Maybe like his wrist was hurting, his skin was chafing. It actually felt uncomfortable to try to ejaculate multiple times a day. It just, none of that felt good, and it wasn't giving him any kind of pleasure. And so that drastically reduced his masturbation from multiple times a day to maybe about 3 to 4 times a week. Then there was my client who would just eat a lot of pro-inflammatory foods and foods that were causing her to gain weight and foods that she had a lot of cravings towards, especially carbs and sugar. I'm sure a lot of us, or almost all of us, can relate to that one, right? And what we did was, again, we didn't restrict the experience. It gets worse before it gets better at first. So an unrestricted experience, have all your favorite candies, foods, pastries, carbs, processed food, whatever they are, just have them right in front of you, but have it as an isolated experience. Do not connect it with anything else. Don't eat it with your favorite drink. Don't eat it while watching TV or scrolling on your phone. Just be with that one food that is your vice. In this case, let's just use a pastry as an example. Feel what it feels like to eat the pastry, how your stomach feels, what you feel afterwards. Do you feel the spikes in your blood sugar? Does it give you an upset stomach? Does it actually feel satisfying to eat? Is it actually giving you the thing that you're looking for, which is maybe a little bit of a dopamine hit? But just become really aware of what it does and how it's impacting your body. Is it easy to digest? Does it give you an energy crash? Does it give you a headache? How is your body reacting to it? Again, that will build a natural aversion to the foods that aren't a good match for your body, and it'll help you eat the foods that your body actually likes. You'll have a natural draw to it. Again, recap. No more control drama or power struggle with your vice. You're going to take a mindfulness approach, be aware of what you're doing, isolate the experience, and allow your body to create a natural aversion to the excessive use of the vice. All right, I hope this helped you. I would love to hear your comments in the comment section, and may peace be with you.